I'm Neal Thomas.
I'm Alan Vines.
All right. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in the east side of Detroit, in the ghetto, south of 8 Mile.
And I grew up in Mount Ida, Arkansas.
How did you get here?
Well, I was looking for a place that was more rural and country and beautiful, and I just ended up here. I lived in a teepee down the road from where Alan's family farm, oddly enough, was. And one day he heard that there was a gay guy living down the street, and he came up to meet me. I think. Is that what happened?
So how did that start? You met like that. Could you expand on that a little bit?
Well, yeah, actually, I drove by the house that you lived in, and there was all these kids' toys out in the yard, and I thought, oh no, what's going on? And I just kind of kept going. But he came up, and we hit it off. We had some common interests in plants and animals, and then when I went to visit him, he had like lizards running around on the floor, and birds flying around the house, and a toad that drank out of a little pan from the fridge, and I was like, oh my god, I like this guy.
Describe a typical day in your life.
Work.
Yeah, we work. Both of us work. I go to school. He has more after-hours tenants issues than I do. I don't know. We get up every morning and have coffee and watch the news and discuss it. We actually don't really watch the news because we're too busy talking about it.
Who fakes the headaches?
I'm actually picking you up in that mirror back there when you reach forward. Do you want to? You can sit over here if you want. I mean, you can. You're not gonna.
You're just gonna make us smile. Just sit there. We need to smile.
These questions are good.
Who fakes the headaches?
That'll probably be me.
I would think so. Although I don't really notice it. I just assume you really have a headache.
We don't really think headaches. I have headaches.
So you live in Hot Springs. What drove you here? Why did you stay? And what's your favorite thing?
Together or separate?
Either
What
one,
do you mean?
I guess.
Well, we lived at the farm for 8 years and loved it out there, just us two, by ourselves in the country, fresh air, the nature. And then after 8 years, it started getting kind of boring because there's not a lot of things to do. There's not a lot of open-minded people out there. So Neal started wanting to move. He wanted to move to town,
Really bad.
really bad. And we visited this place with the high ceilings and the big windows and the loft apartments. And I was like, if you can find us a place there, I'll move. And we moved within 3 months of that, probably.
You know, when we met, I think you actually lived in town, and I wanted to move to the country,
Maybe.
to garden and have goats and all that stuff.
Yeah, I was doing the Hot Springs Humane Society. But I had the house in Norman. I had been working on it.
I just always liked Hot Springs. It just seems to be liberal, artsy, intelligent people that are activists. I think there's more nonprofits in this town than probably anywhere else you live in San Francisco to see so much activism.
How's the community reception of y'all being a gay couple here?
Well, it's kind of made us celebrities in a way. There's just not a lot of... There's some deeply committed long-term gay couples here, but, you know, I have like 4 pair of shoes. Alan has flip-flops and 1 pair of shoes. So we're not typical, I don't think, gay people, and that's been noted.
Very well received, though. Everybody treats us like any other couple. We've had no problems along those lines. Everybody's real accepting and respectful of our relationship.
Except for that lady in that restaurant one time. Remember when she came up and she yelled at me and she was like, she thought I was someone else. We had just met. We were at a Chinese buffet and this lady came up to the table and she said, "You stay away from me and my children." And that was kind of weird because Alan thought, "Oh my God, does this person have a history around here?" And I think that put a little stress in the
It was
relationship.
strange.
That's never happened to me before.
What type of gay groups, I guess, are here? Are there any gay bars?
No gay bars anymore. There was one for years. We've had one, two at a time sometimes, but no, there's none. But the gay people in Hot Springs just go where they want to go.
Anywhere.
Especially downtown, it's just very well accepted.
Farmers market, arts events, the low key, all of it. It's just
Maxine.
very gay.
You want to talk a little bit about Hot Springs Gay Pride?
Well, a lot of the people in Hot Springs that are gay were concerned when the bar shut down and we didn't really have a common meeting place. And relationships suffered, people just started drifting apart, didn't know how they'd see each other or when. I think it was a sort of a group decision to try to intentionally stay together on the same page about things. And the wonderful thing about that is we don't all get along, and a lot of us, when we did have a bar, were in different cliques and different groups and didn't associate. That really seems to be fading away now that we don't have a bar. Everyone seems to have put aside their differences and they're really trying to work together for a common good. And that really impresses me.
The SCOTUS ruling really galvanized everybody. And I don't know exactly how it happened, but it sort of galvanized the
Everyone was just
community.
excited and pissed and everything all at once, and Chad Griffith happened to come to town. And I think that sort of lit a fire under people and made it happen.
So we started Hot Springs Gay Pride in like 2009. And there was very little interest. And then after the SCOTUS ruling, it just exploded.
In like 3 days, there was 200 people interested.
How long have y'all been together? I'm not sure.
We've been together for 13 years, or slightly more.
13 years and 3 months. August.
Paying attention.
Do you plan to get married?
Yes, but we've done things that were kind of like getting married already. We jumped over the broom. We went to Eureka Springs and registered our domestic partnership. But that's not quite the same as a public announcement of our
Right.
love.
We've been debating on whether or not to go to another state to get it done. But I would rather wait till we can do it here. And I think it will happen. Just hopefully it won't be too long.
Yeah, this is home. We're not leaving. We're going to do it here. We'll wait. Hopefully not too long.
How did you know that Neal was the one for you?
One of our first dates together, we were driving around the country because we both automatically just enjoyed driving dirt roads. And I was pointing out flowers and their scientific name, and he knew the scientific names. He knew some that I didn't know, I knew some he didn't know, and it was just, we clicked.
Yeah, it's not every day you meet a gay naturalist.
Yeah, he would go up and he wasn't afraid to get dirty, he wasn't afraid to break a nail, things like that.
Kill the snake.
Just, I don't know, we just melded right off the bat.
You described some ups and downs in your relationship.
Well, we were really poor for a long time and it put a lot of stress on us. I mean, I hate to think that money affects a relationship, but it does. We stood by each other and made do with fried biscuits and plants that we ate out of the yard.
Beans and potatoes.
Let's go buy some violets or pick some violets and make a salad. that was rough. We used to drive the countryside looking for shredded tires to heat the house with. Or stop in front of the thrift store and steal a bag of shoes that were a donation just to not freeze. That was rough, but I think we were just as happy back then as we are now.
Maybe happy.
Life is easier, but
It was a lot less complicated back then.
I think
Uh,
I don't know. I look back fondly. And what else did we do? We lost a child together. That was very difficult. He saw me through that recovery process, which is still going on. But those are I think our biggest things. Your cousin was murdered. Just a lot of weird, odd family stresses that you wouldn't normally expect.
How about some really ups and positives that you've experienced together?
Well, we had a couple great backpacking trips through Mexico that were pretty breathtaking. We lived on $36 a day and cooked our own food and we tried to blend it, stayed with families.
Neal just pulled us through it. I had big time culture shock when we first got there. Neal was just like, you just get on the bus and go. Here's what you eat. He just did it. Which really impressed me because I would have probably just went back home. But he was really good at things like that.
Are both of your families supportive of your relationship?
My family's very supportive. They don't treat us any differently than, say, my brother and his girlfriend or wife. They're treated very well.
Most of my family is supportive of our relationship, but my father has issues, I think. He's a church person. And I had to specifically ask him to address Alan as a person rather than kind of ignore that he existed at all. And his response, oddly enough, was, I didn't care what my parents thought when I was your age. So I'm not so much sure if he's not accepting or just distant. But the rest of my family is great, and they love Alan. And so does my dad. He loves Alan, too. Told me that he liked him the minute they met.
What's the biggest legal obstacle you faced?
We can't get married, and that really sucks. And because of that, in Arkansas, I can't claim him on my insurance well, I don't have insurance anymore, but when I did from the company I worked at, they offered it in other states that had gay marriage or that didn't have constitutional amendments against it. And that really was kind of actually embarrassing to even have to ask them about it. That was a problem.
So how would your lives change if you could get married?
Well, I don't think I feel any differently about you if we were married.
That'd probably be exactly the same.
I think maybe other people would feel differently about us. I mean, I think
I
everybody
would just,
knows we're committed. I mean, after this long,
it's just being recognized by your peers or by the state as the real relationship that we have. So,
Why do you think it's important to have marriage recognition?
well, I think the importance of marriage recognition, it's important to people to be able to validate who they are. But beyond that, once there's gay marriage, our whole culture is going to change. And perceptions about gay people and relationships that are different, I think that the fear about that will subside. I think in time, kids will be friendlier to the gay kid. I don't know. I would like to see the bullying stop. And one of the things about not having gay marriage is that if you're a religious person, that means that these gay people are living in sin because they're not married. And it's almost as if they support that to keep us in sin. I don't know. I haven't really expounded on those thoughts much, but
The main thing with me is I think typical people who aren't gay sort of see our relationship as not as valid as a straight couple's relationship that they can actually get married. And our relationship is just as good as a straight person's marriage. And I would like to be recognized, like it to be recognized that we are, because it is the same.
Say tomorrow that Arkansas and the rest of the states have marriage equality for some reason. How would you react to that?
We'll break up with the champagne.
yeah, I'd be driving around the block and shooting off Roman candles out of the car. Because that's just what I do when I'm happy about stuff. Yeah, and then we'd go to the courthouse and try to register and get it done. But then what? Do we start counting at one again? I mean, we've been married 1 year.
We've considered ourselves married for 12 years. So
It needs to happen.
it would just be, it's like I didn't expect when the SCOTUS ruling came through, I didn't expect to be so happy and overwhelmed, so much that I cried, and I'm not a person who cries easily. It so affected me, it made me realize that if when gay marriage does pass, it'll probably feel the same. You know, even though our relationship is going to be the same, it's just the society seeing us as what we actually are is just amazingly cathartic and wonderful feeling.
I have to agree with that. Definitely. Is there anything that you'd like to have expounded on? Retakes?
There's a lot more questions.
Yeah, there is.
Was there anything that you guys just want to share, talk about, something that you feel is important for people to know?
Just that we're like any other couple. That's what I think. If everyone understood that our relationship is just like other relationships, that it would be a non-issue. I think a lot of people realize that now. Anybody who knows a gay couple, people are starting to realize that it's the same. We have jobs, we have to pay taxes, we have arguments, you know, but we love each other, and it's the same love. Everyone will realize that eventually. It's the same.
Hopefully sooner.
What are your thoughts on civil unions and how is that compared to marriage?
Like, how is it different than gay marriage?
Yeah, how do you feel about civil unions versus marriage?
I would have been happy with the civil union back when it was first suggested, and in time, it made me feel like I wasn't worthy of a marriage, and
It's
it
a
just
skim milk.
started really bothering me. And you know, perhaps if our whole society or American culture had all non-religious weddings, civil marriages, or civil unions, that would be acceptable. But if it's just something delegated to gay people, it's not enough. It's not good enough.
Well, a lot of people think it's attached to religion, but I was raised to believe that that's just the logical progression of falling in love with someone. You fall in love, you get married, and you continue the life as a married couple. And that's how I was raised. That's what I was taught, that marriage was the logical progression of a good relationship where you loved each other. And that's what I want.
Yeah, it's just, you know, there's nothing wrong with the civil union per se, just since so many people are against gay marriage but would be okay with civil union, that makes me think that's just reinforcing their homophobia. I can't help but look
It's
at
just-
it that way.
it's
That we're
less
still
than-
less and different, and we are different, obviously. You know, we can't have children like a straight couple, but
They're
it
straight
doesn't
couples
mean that our
want
love is different or that our commitment level is any different.
That's true.
How do you think being denied the right to marriage has affected same-sex couples, and how will it change after?
Well, I think that gay people not being able to get married or even be open about their relationships has forced a lot of gay people to live fairly deviously and they develop complexes about it, and they're afraid to be upfront and open and honest about who they are because of the shame and stigma associated with it. And it's silly that a TV show like Will and Grace can help combat that, but I think that that's helped. So off the bat, gay people are, in general, now much more open about who we are, but still, not being able to get married, it has a psychological impact. It makes you feel less than. Or it makes me feel less than. And I don't like feeling like that.
Throughout Arkansas's history that you can remember, or what are the, I guess, biggest steps or biggest efforts that you've seen for LGBT equality, whether it be adoption, marriage?
That's a good one. What was it, 97 or something like that they overturned the sodomy law? Is it here in Arkansas? I don't remember. We used to have a radio program here called Queer Frontier, and I remember they had made a big deal about the sodomy laws being repealed, and I had no idea that they even had them here. It was really a shock to me. I don't know what that was, maybe 94, before the Oklahoma City bombing.
I know the housing authority for over a year now has included sexual orientation as something that you can't deny housing.
And gender identity.
And gender identity is covered now, and it has been for a while, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's exciting to me.
Of course, Eureka Springs having domestic partnership is a good thing.
And Ames ballot initiative language being accepted is a good step forward.
Since we're in this red state, a group like AIM trying to push for something that seems like it won't work. What are your thoughts on that? The public opinion not quite at the level of 51% yet. Do you think that AIM has a chance in 2016?
I think we have a very good chance.
I think it'll pass.
And
I think it'll be voted in.
I also think, though, that if it doesn't, we're going to have an opportunity to educate a lot of people about who we are and what we stand for. And if not this time, then next time. I don't know. I don't think we're as red as we appear. There's a whole lot of open-minded people out in the hollers around here. I've realized recently that there's not a whole lot of difference between hillbillies and hippies. I had no idea. They're almost the same.
I had a good question. Real good question. Okay. When people say stuff in opposition to same-sex marriage or anything LGBT, is there any advice that you could give them or anything that you would like to say to them that would possibly change their mind?
I'm looking for the magic bullet to change people's minds about gay marriage, and I haven't found it. I end up getting angry and stopping the conversation and really consider if I even want to have a conversation with this person. I'm just talking about my acquaintances. I haven't been out with a petition. I haven't really thought about talking points. But recently, a woman that I considered a friend, liberal person from the Beltway in D.C., said to me that she didn't like the fact that the Supreme Court could willy-nilly change a definition of a word, such as marriage. And I really couldn't argue with her. I didn't know how to respond, but it made me quite angry.
Because it's a civil right. It really shouldn't even be voted on. It's a civil right to get married to the person you love.
That's probably not the best answer that I get mad at people. But I do. I mean, I felt like her ignorance and hang up on Webster's was her reason for denying me the rights that she has, or has the opportunity to take advantage of if she were to choose to.
I think a lot of it is the churches are afraid that we're going to force them to marry us in their churches. That seems to be a big problem with the people that I know that are against gay marriage. They're afraid their church will have to perform gay marriage.
I don't think they will. I mean, they don't do anything else they don't want to do.
Where would you describe your dream wedding, and would you have it in a church? If there is a church around here that.
Not a church. Probably outside.
Could you repeat the question? Sorry.
Oh. Can't remember it now.
How would your dream wedding be?
Oh, would my dream wedding be? Or probably just outside. No, we haven't thought about it.
If we have a dream wedding, my dream wedding is that we're going to have a big wedding canopy. We're going to be sitting underneath it, outdoors with all the family around, everybody drinking like you do at a wedding. And I'm Polish. There's got to be a polka band. I can't help it. To me, that just goes with weddings. That's silly music that makes you just dance and drink more. It just goes with it.
My dream wedding does not involve a polka band.
So we're going to have to compromise on this. We've also thought about a Quaker wedding, that basically a group of people, your friends and immediate family, get together and you have your marriage contract on an artist's easel, and there's a silent ceremony and everybody just kind of signs it and it's over. And you frame it and you display it in your home. And I like that because, you know, our vows to each other have pretty much already been said. I don't think there's anything we can say now that would make it any more real. Just the validation from other people. I don't know, so we're going to have 2 different weddings.